What is up, my fellow Chibits? Hopefully all of you are having a very good day today, and if it happens to be at nighttime when you watch this, I wish you a very good night as well. And if you watch this many days after upload, weeks, months, or even years, I still wish you many good days or nights ahead. And so with that being said, let's talk about the latest chapter of Taizai. It's come to my attention, after thinking about it and looking back at everything, it's come to my attention that Nakaba-sensei must really love shotas and lollies in terms of just pairing. It seems like he has some form of like towards that. And let me explain why I say that. Let's look at Bon and Elaine's relationship. Bon's a human, and Elaine is like a little lolly girl, even though she's older. She's the lolly body. That pairing has a lot of controversy in terms of just how many people have viewed it throughout the series. But then you look at Meliodas and Elizabeth. She's young, he's old, but at the same time, he looks young. He looks like a boy, and she looks kind of like an older woman compared to him. And you have like the opposite effect of a lolly, a shota. Then you go over to, you know, King and Diane. King is basically a shota, and Diane is, you know, she's a giant girl. And in this case, that relationship is very similar to Meliodas and, you know, Elizabeth. You have it to where Diane, she's technically younger, and you have it to where King, he is older. So you have these certain couples that are very similar in terms of just the way they look. And then you look at Merlin. And when you look at, you know, Merlin's relationship with Escanor, how Escanor likes, you know, Merlin, it seems like the most normal couple. Out of all of them, it seems like the most normal. Yes, we know Merlin's very old, but regardless, it seemed like the most normal because they both looked like adults and everything seemed completely fine. But then you look at this chapter and everything that you knew about the relationship between Merlin and Escanor comes just crumbling down. Merlin is a lolly. Now, obviously, she's thousands of years old. I mean, she's old, but she's a lolly. Well, at least in body-wise. And the form we have seen her in since her introduction, that apparently is just like magic. She has grown her body to look like that. But in reality, she actually, her true form, she's a little lolly girl. And then when you really take a moment to think about it, and you're just like, oh, she's cute and all that, when you think about it, you're like, wait a minute. This is really creepy, because Escanor. Now, okay, Escanor is way younger than Merlin, okay? He's way younger. I think he's like in his 40s or 50s. He's around in there in terms of his age, okay? Yes, that's a lot in adult years, like our human years. I mean, it's not old, but it's still kind of a good ways in there. But basically, compared to Merlin, Merlin's way above him, okay? Like, she's way above him in terms of age. But when you look at the coupling, she's a lolly, and he's basically a grown man. And it looks so weird when you think about his buff form, like his massive, like, praise the sun mode, when he gets all buffed to one, with Merlin, a little girl. Just like, just think about that for a second. Just picture that in your mind. Just process that image. And I'm thinking to myself, like, Nakaba-sensei, I think he likes these type of couples. I think it's very apparent after looking at all the relationships with all of our 7 deadly sins that it's definitely obvious that he has something for shotas and lollies in terms of just age difference pairings. It's clear as day. Merlin, Escanor, Meliodas, Elizabeth, Diane, King, you know, Elaine, and Bon. Just, yeah. Speaking of Bon was nowhere to be seen in this chapter. Are we just gonna, you know, act like Bon doesn't exist? Like, it's like Nakaba-sensei, I know you can be savage, but that's pretty mean. That's pretty mean. Like, it's mean. Like, okay. Clarification. Readers of the chapter, think about it. The Bon was nowhere in this chapter. He was nowhere in this chapter. Didn't exist. And when Chandler, he was talking to the 7 deadly sins, he didn't mention Bon. He didn't even mention him. He acted like he wasn't. He's like, where's Bon? Where's Bon? He's like, please, Nakaba. Like, that's some savage stuff you're doing to Bon. Like, this man, it's not the fact that Merlin basically shafted him and said, like, we're counting on you, Galther, Diane, and King. But now this, like, you have it to where the demon doesn't even recognize Bon, and Bon could not be there, but where'd he go? Like, It's mean. It's mean. It's really mean. It's just really mean. I feel so bad for Bond because he's become that irrelevant in terms of just power scaling. It's just like, can't do anything. He can't do anything. Yes, I know he doesn't have a sacred treasure, but oh my. Like, I feel so bad because that's just how irrelevant he is right now. And it saddens me. It really does because Bond's one of my favorites. And seeing how he's basically pointless right now, I'm sad. Anyways, though, okay, so let's talk about Chandler. I think that's how you say his name. So, in terms of just design-wise, power-wise, and everything, he's scary. He's very scary powerful. Now, I believe there is a translation error in this chapter. I could be wrong, but I believe there was a translation error, and it's actually not properly explained. There is a panel in this chapter of Taizai that says that Chandler, he is the strongest, or the highest of the demons, or whatever, like one of the strongest demons, and this, I think, is, like, not translated properly. Like, along the lines, it basically states that he is the strongest, okay? That's basically what the translation implies. And I believe this is actually incorrect. I believe he is definitely up there in terms of strength. He's really high up there. But I don't believe he is the strongest. And I believe that was a translation from, you know, MS, and it wasn't properly explained or whatever. But regardless, though, Chandler is no joke. He is definitely a strong person. It's obvious that he would be strong thanks to him teaching Meliodas, and Meliodas is supposed to be, you know, the next Demon King, so it makes a lot of sense he would be incredibly powerful. And in this case, I was not surprised to see how much power he is pumping out, what he was capable of throughout the chapter. I think we all expected him to do something crazy. In this case, him using full counter, that was kind of a shock, which I'll get in that in a moment, but him breaking Merlin's, like, cube, that was kind of scary in terms of just OP-ness, because everything that we have seen from, the cube that Merlin creates, not even, like, someone like Meliodas broke out of it or whatever, and also you have it to where, like, Escanor couldn't break it when we saw all that destruction going on, so when you look at all of that, man is insane. No absolute cancel to be able to cancel and all that, just do stuff like that, that's kind of scary. That's pretty powerful. So, yeah, I'm kind of shocked about that one. Anyways, let's talk about the full counter. So, he knows full counter, which is, in a way, it's to be expected, but it's still interesting because when you think about Meliodas and his magic and all that, that must mean that there could be something that we haven't seen from him in terms of magic. This could mean a whole lot of new things for Meliodas, because we all assume that Meliodas was the main person that created full counter. Like, he created it, it was his, and eventually you had to Estarossa, he looked up to Meliodas, and then he made his own counterpart to it, where he can, like, counter physical moves, am I correct? Yeah, I think, Estarossa counters physical moves, and Meliodas counters magical moves. I could be incorrect with that. If I am, correct me in the comments. But I believe, I know they're opposites of each other. One counters magical, one counters physical. And basically here, it shows that Meliodas, what he learned was not thanks to his own magic. It's something he created by himself. He got it from someone else that taught him. So Meliodas could know his own style of magic that we're unaware of, that we haven't really seen. And when it comes to demon traits and demon magic and stuff, that's just for the entirety of the race. So we can't count, like, Hellblaze and stuff. So we gotta factor in something else. So, like, Meliodas could have his own magic that we haven't seen. Anyways, though, in terms of the teacher knowing full counter, that is kind of scary, because he can counter any magic. We have seen this firsthand. That ability is pretty strong. It's a very powerful ability, and then you calculate all the other stuff we have seen from, like, you know, him in this chapter, calling down meteors from the sky, creating darkness throughout the entire area, making it to where, like, night sets and all that. The man's, you know, scary OP. Like, he's really scary OP, and knowing full counter on top of that, the man barely has any weaknesses. He can counter almost everything. And in this case, I feel like that is why Gowther and King had to team up and use their abilities together, because looking at the ability and, you know, what's going on, having King use Chestaful and you have Gowther using his bow, I believe them doing that is making the attack physical. So that would mean that Chandler couldn't full counter the bow. and the arrow going at it, because it's a physical type attack. It's not actually magical. So if it follows the laws of true full counter, what Meliodas has, that would mean that Chandler cannot full counter the blast that's about to come in at him from Galther and King. So that was good clarification. If so, like, I believe that's physical, and if it goes in, I don't think he's going to counter. Unless he is Estarosa's teacher. That is the only way I can see that. Estarosa, you know, learning underneath him, and then maybe, you know, Chandler, he has full counter for the physical side as well. Maybe it's both things. For instance, Chandler can do physical and magical, because we have seen this from Estarosa and Meliodas. So I'm curious on how that's going to be handled. I wonder if he was the one to teach him, because, like I said, the teacher for Estarosa is up in the air. Now, many have been telling me in the comments that there is a likely possibility that Estarosa was taught by Meliodas. Maybe Meliodas is the one that taught, you know, Estarosa and trained him and all that, and then because of how much he looked up to Meliodas, he made his own full counter, which was, you know, a physical equivalent. Many have said that. Maybe Meliodas is the one to teach him, which That could be possible. That definitely could be possible. That's not something we could just throw out and say that didn't happen. That is a possibility. However, though, until we see what happens next chapter with Chandler and seeing if he can full counter some form of physical move, then we don't really know. And if he does counter, like, some form of physical, that would definitely imply that he taught Estarosa. That's what that definitely implies. Now, the question is why Meliodas doesn't know that side of full counter. If he does know, makes me wonder, was Meliodas not able to learn it, or was Estarosa able to learn it? Like, he was able to adapt to it a lot quicker. I'm just very curious about that. Anyways, though, we also know that he's basically the moon god. That's how you can look at Chandler. He's basically, like, praise the moon. You know how we have praise the sun? Well, we have praise the moon with this man. This man, apparently, he gets stronger. Demons get stronger as they stay in night, which makes sense in terms of what demons are, darkness and all of that. So, them being in the middle of the night and getting darker and darker, obviously, they would be much stronger at night, and he gets very strong. And so, it's like a complete opposite to Escanor, which, it's obvious by the way Nakaba is building this up. He's building up Chandler and Escanor versus Escanor. He's definitely building this up as a potential fight. Now, I could be wrong here, but him, like, talking about the moon and stuff, especially after what has happened in the previous chapters with Escanor, him being, like, the sun god, well, it's obvious that it's going to be a fight between those two. I could definitely see it. Now, he might not get up because he is still unconscious and he has reverted to his younger form, but even still, though, who knows? I feel like Nakaba-sensei is building that up. So, getting off of that, let's talk about the aspect of the meteors. The meteors. Calling down the meteors it's a very shonen thing to do. I mean, we have seen this from Madara. I think Madara started that, and then we had Bleach follow suit, and then we saw it in Toriko and all of that. We also saw it in One Piece, too, yeah. Fujitora, he used meteors as well. So, I mean, it's a shonen thing. Meteors have been a thing since Madara launched down, like, meteors from the sky. So, seeing Nakaba-sensei follow suit, it's nothing, like, amazing. I mean, it's something to be expected from anyone that uses magic in, like, a battle shonen. Because, just, meteors are cool looking. They're really cool, coming from the sky and all that. And so, when him launching down meteors, it's powerful, but it's nothing impressive because we've seen this so much in other shonen that it's just not visually impressive. I mean, it looked good, just in terms of just shock factor and stuff, him calling down meteors, it's something to be eventually expected from Taizai. Anyways, though, I guess besides that, we could talk about the other little things. This man, oh man, he shrinks down Diane, and I just want to take a few moments to talk about King's expression. King, the man having a nosebleed. He's straight having a nosebleed when he sees Diane shrinking down, which makes a lot of sense, because he's so used to, you know, Diane being the one that's tall and all that, and seeing her smaller than him. That was a funny moment, just him having a nosebleed and all that, and she was just shocked because she was so low. I was laughing. I was straight up laughing. It was a good little segment, and I had a blast with that. So, that's about it. I mean, the chapter's pretty simple overall. It's a really simple chapter, but it's a good chapter. So, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I love you all so much. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.